I consider myself to be very fortunate. I had a very supportive family who really encouraged me to be an artist. It ran in our family. My grandmother was an artist. She painted for years and years, gave us, all of us kids, art lessons. I was also greatly inspired by the landscape that I grew up in and around. I grew up in eastern Washington. So for me, I have this sense of wide open spaces. Anything that I draw, landscape-wise or architecture-wise, kind of comes out of this big, wide sense of space. When I was in art school at the University of Washington, I happened to get the opportunity to work for a sculptor up in the San Juan Islands. Very well-respected artist named Philip McCracken. I worked for him for 5 summers, and I found that to be such an enriching experience, this idea of apprenticeship. I'm glad to be back here to rethink and to re-envision my original project, which I did in 1996. When we did it originally, it was very much an experiment to use this combination of timbers and rammed earth and to create this sort of ruin-like structure. The process of coming back for me is really quite exciting, just because I don't ever get this opportunity as a sculptor who works with environmental works. Generally, when I build a project, it has its life, it's taken down, and there's no chance to do it a second time or to say, okay, what would I do next or what would I do differently? And every time I come back, I always have something that I see that I wish I would have done differently. In revisioning, I really was interested in trying to make it last longer. I'm hoping that we'll be able to make it last at least 20 to 30 years. With the reconstruction, I've really been trying to bring forward a lot of the concepts that were inherent in the original bridge, but there were several things that I wanted to take a step further. I see something like Earthen Bridge being remnants of a past civilization, being softened and being taken back into nature and returned to the earth. One of the main things that I wanted to do when I came back here is to make more elements than I had before. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm actually creating a wall over this bridge. There was also another element, which was a large piece of granite that we ended up placing near the trail in between the small footbridge and Earthen Bridge. And we're actually expanding a low, long wall right over the piece of stone. One of the things that I really took away from my apprenticeship with Philip McCracken was a love for learning and a love for teaching. I try to continue this idea of mentorship as I'm working here in the garden with these landscape architecture and horticulture students and the sculpture students that come from Clemson. I think it's really a valuable experience for all of them to see the artists making decisions, reacting to what's there, creating spaces as you're working on the project. Working with real materials, I think, is a valuable augmentation to the theoretical experience. I think it really helps clarify for design students the difference between working on paper and then actually coming out here and moving stones and earth and working with the different materials. And I know that after 3 weeks of working on a project like this, the students here really have a much clearer sense of what it takes to take a design from paper and move it into an actual landscape. The public garden is such a good venue for public art. It's a way of getting an audience who would not necessarily go to a museum. People from other places can be inspired by what they see here and want to try something like it in their own community. I really want people to have a sense of wonder when they enter into one of these spaces. People can just kind of come upon this artwork. They'll be going down the trail and then they'll see one wall and the little footbridge, and then they'll see another wall, and then they'll see the earthen bridge and the steps up the other side. I would feel very satisfied as an artist if that caused them to slow down, to become connected a little more to the landscape, to think about this idea of human history, but ultimately it adds an air of mystery to the immediate space so that they leave with maybe more questions than they came with, like what was this ruin for and who built this ruin? So if I can just slow people down a little bit and have them really connect with the landscape, I think I've been successful as an artist.